Hey everybody, Mr. Grove here. Today we're going to go over the review questions from our review gaming class and just try and get you prepared for the Chapter 5 test. So things to know in general, you want to make sure you know your stages of mitosis. You want to make sure that you can do your pie graph for the cell cycle. Make sure you know your stages of the interphase G1S and G2, what's going on there. Make sure you know your checkpoints. How is asexual versus sexual reproduction different? Stem cells, so the three different types, and cancer terminology, and be able to identify some pictures that would be like what we had on our microscope slides. Tools to help you study. Definitely look over your lecture videos and your lecture notes. Also, vocabulary. You want to make sure that you go over that and the reading worksheet from 5.4 and 5.5. And then we also got the supplemental Bozeman and Crash Course videos. So study over those and we'll see how you do then on the test. So here's the questions in class that we had, and we'll go over the answers to those. So what is a histone? So a histone is going to be a little protein ball. The DNA starts to wind up around, and as that winds up around, that becomes tighter and tighter coiled, and then that forms a chromosome. And those chromosomes become visible that we can see. So that's what a histone is. You can check your notes and also check your vocab is where we cover that. Ben Stiller was our actor for number 2, and he's been in lots of fun movies. So Mystery Men's a good one. We got the Madagascars. Secret Life of Walter Mitty is really good. Dodgeball's fun. Night at the Museum's fun. Meet the Parents are really good as well in the Zoolanders. So Ben Stiller. Number 3, the type of reproduction where one parent produces one offspring is going to be asexual reproduction. Many, like bacteria, can do that. A lot of animals, sponges, hydra, jellyfish, can asexually reproduce. As opposed to sexual reproduction that takes 2 parents to produce an offspring. Name the actor. Number 4 was Sean Connery, and so he was the original James Bond. He just recently passed away, and so he was in the James Bond movies from early on. Also The Rock. You might also know him as Indiana Jones's dad in The Last Crusade. The Untouchables is a really good movie about Prohibition, and Hunt for Red October is a nice Tom Clancy movie. Number 5, the stage in mitosis where we meet in the middle. So meet in the middle, lots of M's there to help you remember metaphase. So metaphase is going to be meeting, the chromosomes meeting in the middle. Jack Black, lots of fun movies. So Kung Fu Panda voice, Jumanji, School of Rock, Nacho Libre. King Kong was actually a decent little movie too. So that's Jack Black. The difference between somatic and embryonic stem cells. So somatic is also what we kind of call adult stem cells. And so they are going to be removed from adults or children. So that's a little misleading. But then they don't really have the differentiating power as embryonic stem cells. But what they do have is, since they're taking them from a person, culturing them to grow more, and then they put them back in the same person, there's the less likelihood of rejection by the host. The problem is they're harder to obtain. So that would be the somatic stem cells. Embryonic stem cells are grown from embryos, a lot easier to obtain, but they're coming from a different organism, and so therefore when you put them in a host, there's a chance of rejection. But since they are embryonic, their ability to be more versatile in what they can turn into is going to be higher for that. So pros and cons to both. Our next actress was Scarlett Johansson, so you probably know her most for her role as Black Widow in the Marvel Universe. So that's Scarlett Johansson. Number 9, the magic elephant gene that helps repair damaged DNA and suppresses tumors is TP53. So that comes from the reading that you were expected to do on the elephants, the one page in your book. Anytime you have a little factual kind of things to remember, try and come up with a quirky saying, something kind of silly that will stick in your brain better. So like toilet paper 53. So maybe you were toilet papered 53 times this fall, or maybe you had to wait for 53 minutes in line for toilet paper back in the spring during the height of the lockdown. So TP53 is that particular gene. Number 10, Matthew McConaughey. So he's been in lots of movies. So we've got the Interstellar, we've got Wolf on Wall Street, Dazed and Confused. So that's Matthew McConaughey. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is also a good one. Totipotent, pluripotent, and multipotent are also the types of stem cells. So totipotent can basically turn into any kind of other cell. Pluripotent still has quite a bit of variety. They can turn into lots of things, but not totipotent. They can't go backwards. And then multipotent can grow into really only cells of a closely related cell family, like a tissue. So as we go from toti to pluri to multi, our versatility becomes less and less on stem cells. Christopher Lloyd, most of you remember him as Doc Brown on Back to the Future, but he was also in the Dennis the Menace movie, an oldie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he was in the Addams Family movies as well. Number 13, how many chromosomes does a human eye cell have? And that would be 56. And we could cross off eye cell, and as long as we're saying human anything cell, the answer would be 46. So 46 chromosomes for that cell. Except if you are a human egg or sperm, you only have half that, so 23. So 46 chromosomes for any cell, eye or whatever, toenail, blood cell, muscle, tissue, whatever. And then 23 for the sperm and egg. Next actor, Morgan Freeman. Lots of quality movies. The Batman series, Lean on Me, Evan Almighty, Bruce Almighty, Bucket List, Along Came a Spider, Kiss the Girls, Glory, $1 Million Baby, Shawshank Redemption. A lot of quality movies there on Morgan Freeman. The stages of mitosis, make sure you know these. It's guaranteed to be on your test. So PMAT, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. So PMAT. And make sure you know what's going on in those stages as well. Number 16 was Daniel Craig. So in this one, he is the current James Bond. He was also in Knives Out, the girl with the dragon tattoo. And so that is Daniel Craig. Also a cameo in one of the recent Star Wars, I think it was Force Awakens. He was a stormtrooper. That's kind of a funny backstory you should look up. Number 17, the cell cycle interphase stages are going to be G1, S, and G2. So you want to kind of know what's going on in those phases and be able to label your pie graph. Check your notes as we covered that in the notes. Number 18, one of Mrs. Dahl, my colleague's favorites, Marky Mark. So lots of actually pretty good movies. And he can kind of do it all, romantic, comedy, action, so lots of good stuff. Planet of the Apes, Perfect Storm, Ted's, Invincible, Patriots Day, Shooter's a good one. So lots of good Marky Mark movies. So we also have some pictures that we'd want to be able to identify. So this particular one was metaphase because we've met in the middle, so a line in the middle, and this would be anaphase because we're pulling apart, so anaphase. Emma Watson, so she was in the Harry Potters, also in a few others, Beauty and the Beast, the live action of that as well. So that's number 20, Emma Watson. Number 21, we need to know what's going on during the stages of interphase, so G1, S, and G2. So G1, we're kind of stacking up parts and proteins, mainly for cell division and then for the DNA copying that will happen in the S stage. So S for synthesis is going to copy all the DNA and make a double copy. So all 46 of those human cell chromosomes will need to have a copy. So the new and old cell will both have 46 chromosomes. And then G2, we're stacking up parts mainly for the cell division. So that's going to allow us to get ready to divide. So we need to make sure we have enough things like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, everything that both cells would need. So know your what's taking place in each of the cell cycle phases, and you can find that in your notes. Amy Adams, so she was Night at the Museum number 2, also in the Muppets, Justice League. She was Lois Lane, not a huge fan there. But those are some Amy Adams movies. Muppets, she was actually really good in Muppets. So number 23, we're going to put them in order of most complex to least complex. So most complex would be an organism, then an organ system, then an organ, and we go down to tissue and cells. So if we go backwards, the least complex, so cells would group together to make tissues, tissues would work together to make organs, organs would work together to make an organ system, and organ systems would work together to make an organism. 24, Harrison Ford. So he was in Star Wars as Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Call of the Wild, Blade Runner, Fugitive, the original Blade Runner, Raiders, Jack Ryan, 42, lots of good Harrison Ford movies. Cell differentiation is going to be when we specialize, so all cells kind of start off generic, and then they will start to specialize then as they form tissues from that. And so that cell specialization as to what makes a muscle cell different from a bone cell, different from a nerve cell, is going to be cell differentiation. So stem cells have not really started that process, which makes them kind of valuable to be able to turn into different things. Number 26, a classic actor and a huge Lakers fan, Jack Nicholson. So The Shining, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Few Good Men's really good. He's actually really good as Joker in the 1989 Batman. So lots of good Jack Nicholson movies. Another diagram, and that's going to be anaphase. So this particular cell that we have circled would be anaphase because we're pulling apart. 28's another actor, Michael Caine, a really good actor actually, and he's been in some really good movies. The original Italian Job. Prestige is a fantastic movie. Inception's a good one. He was in the Batman movies. And Interstellar is a good one as well. And possibly one of my all-time favorites is Secondhand Lions. If you haven't watched that, it's a real good kind of feel-good movie that just makes you laugh and feel good. So Secondhand Lions and Michael Caine. Cytokinesis, how's it different in plants and animals? So in plants, we're going to build a cell wall, a cell plate in between the two spaces of the cell and therefore make two cells. In animals, the cells will start to pinch off and will eventually just pinch all the way through. And so that is going to be how cytokinesis differs in plants and animals. Definitely check your notes for that. Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange. He was also Bilbo in the Hobbit movies. And was Sherlock in the BBC Sherlock movie. Imitation Game was also a good one. So lots of good possibilities for Benedict Cumberbatch. Fragmentation, that is when an organism can asexually reproduce by basically pulling itself apart. Sounds painful, but they do that. And so they're very good at regenerating. But since it's asexual, they'd be clones of each other. So starfish would be asexually fragmenting possibilities. Flatworms would also have that possibility. And that would be in your reading, 5.4. Name this actress, Jennifer Lawrence. So she was the Hunger Games. She was in the X-Men movies as well, or kind of her two big ones. So the Hunger Games series and the X-Men. One disadvantage of asexual reproduction, no genetic variety. The advantage is it's easy. You don't have to find a mate. But the disadvantage, no genetic variety. And so that would be a potential problem if there were something that worked against the genetics it had, since it can't produce offspring with a variety. 34, Tom Cruise is our actor. He's been in lots of pretty good movies, still just keeps chugging along. So he was Top Gun, Mission Impossibles, War of the Worlds is a good one. Minority Report actually was pretty good. Days of Thunder was good. The Firm was good. Lots of other ones that we didn't put on this particular list as well. So Tom Cruise. Number 35 are checkpoints. So you want to make sure what's going on at the checkpoints. So at the G1 checkpoint, the cells kind of gathered resources, Does it have enough? If so, it will pass that checkpoint and proceed on to copying the DNA and then gathering resources for the organelles. If not, then it does not pass that checkpoint. It goes back into the G0 phase. If it does, it makes it all the way down here to the G2 checkpoint, where it's double-checked everything. We're good to go, and so mitosis is triggered. And then after mitosis and cytokinesis, we're going to do the M checkpoint to see if everything worked right, and if so, we're ready to start gathering resources for another cell division. So know your checkpoints. That would be in your notes. Number 36 is Russell Crowe. And so he's been in some very good movies as well. Beautiful Mind is good. Cinderella Man's good. Gladiator is probably his best. Robin Hood was decent. LA Confidential was good. Les Mis was a really neat job of him and Hugh Jackman. And then he was also in Man of Steel. So Russell Crowe. A special kind of binary or asexual reproduction done by bacteria is going to be binary fission. So that'd be in your 5.4 reading worksheet. And Samuel L. Jackson, we really don't have a page big enough to put all his movies on. He's the #1 earning actor year in and year out because he's in so many things. And he's just a really good actor. So he's kind of one of those guys you watch a movie and you're like, oh, I forgot he was in there. But lots of cool stuff. Nick Fury in the Marvel Universe. He was in the original Jurassic Park. He was in Pulp Fiction, Snakes on a Plane, Jackie Brown. Coach Carter, lots of good Samuel Jackson movies, so, and Star Wars, Mace Windu, of course, and Unbreakable is also a really good one. So, 39, we get some true falses. So a gene is smaller than a chromosome. That would be false, or I'm sorry, that would be true. A gene is smaller than a chromosome. So you have about 100,000 genes in your body, and you have 46 chromosomes. So they have to be small to fit on those chromosomes. You have exactly 46 genes in most of your cells. Nope, you have about 100,000 genes in most of your cells. So, and then centromeres are connected at the chromatid. That would also be false. It's kind of backwards, actually. Chromatids, so these legs, are going to be connected at the centromere here. So true, false, false there. And then lastly, Ron Burgundy himself, the Anchorman, Will Ferrell. So lots of fun Will Ferrell movies. So Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights, this time of year. Elf, Old School is a good one. Anchormans are always funny. And then Megamind, Semi-Pro, Lego movies. So lots of good Will Ferrell movies. So hope that helps with the review questions, and hope that helps break up your monotony with the actors and actresses, and who knows, maybe gives you a few movie possibilities if you get quarantined and get bored and have to watch a few movies. So, and I hope that was helpful, and don't forget to smash that like button.